Today, Tim is not feeling well, and so we have 4 people from the choir taking over, and I think y'all are doing a great job. Thank you very much. I also want to say there were, I have a list of some names who were here. We were here on Thursday, I think, anyway, decorating. I want to thank Larry Munn, Jan Holt, Pat Mack, Barbara Holloman, and the Origami Club for helping us decorate. So there you go. We're doing Advent. Advent is a 4-week preparation for Easter, and in traditional churches, it's the 4 weeks of getting ready to recognize Jesus' birth, and in particular, to prepare in your heart a place for Jesus to come in and be part of your ongoing spiritual life. And we'll acknowledge that that is a good and useful thing, but we'd like to add in that part of the reason Unity separates itself somewhat from most traditional churches is that Unity also has this underlying and consistent belief, which is that each of us has within us the Christ presence, which is the divine pattern, to become someone like Jesus, but not Jesus, but to be ourselves in a divine way. And I think it's quite interesting that most people are not born into Unity, but have come here, and I usually say people come here because they've had a divorce. Something has happened. Something has taken what had been a standard assumption and has blown it up. And now we're looking for deeper answers to the nature of reality and ourselves. And it has often come, as you have, maybe many of you have noticed, comes from a sense of absence or loss or pain. And so now we're here, and it's kind of like pulling back the bow. It hurt, but we intend to go well beyond the hurt into the awakening of our true nature. And that true nature is divine. And so the very qualities that you would use to prepare for Jesus to be welcome into your heart are the same qualities that you would use to welcome yourself into your own heart and to awaken to your divine nature. And we have the 4 elements of faith, love, joy, and peace. We have those same things in our own awakening. And so today we're going to talk about faith. And faith is a beautiful thing, and it's often been relegated to just a faith in a particular thing. But I would like to talk about faith in a more generalized way today and say, rather than believing in a certain thing, we trust the universe, or we trust God, or we trust the nature of things, however you want to say it. This general background of trust, I think, is the peacemaking, assuring, confidence-building, helpful thing to come to us when we are on the path of awakening. Because whatever loss it is that has propelled you to go deeper into your own spiritual life, or whatever inspiration that has come along to cause that, there will be other things. And they may knock you off course. They may feel like, oh my gosh, I've lost it, or this is not really working, or why is this so difficult at this time? And the antidote to that is a deep and profound trust. A deep and profound trust that you may not have evidence for at the moment, but you are willing to take that risk. And that risk is really the risk that you might actually be on the right path, that though it seems you've been turned several times, you're actually on the path. I noticed in my life that I went as far away from it as I possibly could, believed I was as far away, and that was exactly how I got to where I am today. You know, I took the long way. There are shortcuts. You can go straight to heaven You can go my way down the river, and I chose the river. And I was miserable at times, and felt like a failure, and was lost, and was like the prodigal son, hoping for a little bit of pleasure here and there, but not really having it, because there was an underlying sense of absence in my heart where it really mattered. But as truth would be worked out, in trying to recover that which I thought I had lost, I gained that which I had always had. And this is, I think, true for each of us. So if we will take faith as part of the process, then when you're in those times of loss or pain or suffering or isolation or loneliness, that faith is what you use to bridge you over to the next thing. And it doesn't mean that your journey will be pain-free. It just means it won't be pain-free and suffering on top of it. You won't suffer that you're not happy. You won't be suffering that you're not at peace. You'll just be not at peace and not happy. There is a little bit of a difference there. It may be too subtle for you at this moment because you're in the midst of it. But if you're not in the midst of it, you probably get what I'm saying. You can have pain, but you don't have to suffer about having pain. You don't have to regret that you have pain. You could just say, I have pain, right? You could actually live as though this was, well, this is part of the process. How unfortunate, but true it is. And you know, the story of Jesus, of course, is not a straight line of just one happy wedding at Cana. It goes through several times where he is like, you wouldn't say it would be a happy time for him. And of course, the big one happens around Easter. But that seems to have been one of the preconditions for his full awakening to who he really was. And so it could be for us as well. That when these difficulties come, they are stretching and stressing us so that we grow into something deeper and wider. We grow into the awakening that the divine which we have been seeking on the outside is also living through us as us. That very thing which seems other is also us. And what a bizarre place to hide that truth of who the divine is, but inside you. Especially when you're feeling low. Especially when you feel like I'm a failure, or the world's against me, or I'm not healthy. But there it is, an eternal pattern within yourself. Today we did this little meditation. This meditation, I think, could be helpful in your developing your sense of trust, which is to sit in silence and to feel out into the world. Most of us, I think, most of us have this sense that we're separate and isolated and we're just inside this body. That this is who we are, and it's somehow unlike the rest of nature, which is deeply connected to the web of life. We are not. And we are somehow this isolated consciousness that is able to feel lonely, separate, and also unmoored to the whole of the way the world is. And I think an antidote to that could be to sit in this form of meditation, where you sit and you feel out into the world. And you sit, it may be imagination for you, it may be more than that. You may actually get a sense of feeling the world. But this brings us back in contact with all that we are part of. For we are never to come out of this world. Have you ever been anywhere else? I mean, not too much, maybe once in a while. But basically, we are part of this world, and this sense of isolation is a practiced experience and feel which will diminish your sense of faith that everything is connected and therefore you belong. So this whole experience, this experience of being isolated, can drain you of your faith. Because when you feel like it's just you, and you are not part of this grand expression of the divine, the whole universe, you are not part of it. Your sense of isolation can make those little things, and some of the big things, feel as though they're overwhelming. But if you're part of this ecosystem, this connective experience, and where you can trust that all that has happened up until this point in the creation of the universe has brought consciousness and you to this point. If you could feel that that is true, I think one of the things that would diminish is the sense that you don't have enough power or wisdom to handle the moment. When in fact, I think you do. I think the power and the wisdom that you need for each moment resides within you. There's a story in the Bible of Jesus. He's been talking all day. You know how tiring that is. He's been talking to a lot of people. He's probably had a lot of people draining his energy as deeply as they could, trying to gain something from him, thinking they don't have enough. And he gets in a boat and he's going across a big lake, and a storm comes up. And everybody in the boat is nervous and frightened and freaked that this is going on. And Jesus is sleeping in the back. He must be tired. And they go to him and they say, "Hey, wake up. We're in deep trouble here." And he stands and he looks at the waves and he says, "Be still." And according to this story, then the waves calm down and the wind stops. Right? It's a good story. I think I've told this story, but recently I was up in Canada sailing on a boat, and I wasn't exactly sure where we were, kinda, sorta, but I was nervous about it, and I thought, I've got too many things to handle right now. I need the wind to quiet down. So I said, we need to bring this down. I said we, I didn't say, I need to bring this down. I said, we need to bring this down. And I promise you, within 2 minutes, the wind began to diminish in its strength. It is not beyond you to be able to influence the world around you, but it helps to feel as though you're connected to it and to trust that you have a place in this universe. You are part of the universe. You're part of God, really, which you may think is more elevated. You are part of that. And when you say a thing, you have a vibration you send out into that which you are already connected, and you have influence. And being open, and there are sometimes when you say a thing and nothing happens. Have you noticed? Once in a while. But there are enough times when you say something and then it does happen. And it may not happen in the timing you were hoping, but it does happen. Another story from my declaring something and making it so. When I was 10 years old, we were driving up to my grandmother's house, probably for Christmas, and we crossed the Neuse River. Now you know the Neuse River is spelled N-E-U-S-E, but my name is also spelled N-E-U-S-O-M. And so I said, one day I'll live on the Neuse River. 35 years later, it was true. I lived on the Neuse River. And I remembered saying that. And I remember many times I've heard of gurus who say, you know, something, and then it happens. It happens rather quickly, usually with them. If they say something, someone's going to have this, and it will happen. And either they get it from reading the experience of their connection to the world, or they just declare a thing, and so it is. But as you hold your connection to the one presence, one power, we call it one presence, one power. One presence, one power doesn't mean God and you. It means one presence, one power, which includes us, and we are part of that. So as we are a part of that, and the more we recognize we are a part of it, the more I think access we have to that presence and power as we do that, and we declare a thing, and so it is. And so your faith is really your awareness of your connection. And you don't have to do the cognitive straining of, I believe, you know. And most of the things that Jesus is saying when he says, ask and it shall be given to you, is really a slightly off translation. It's not so much ask like, dear God, give it to me. I'm so helpless without your help. And sometimes it's exactly how you feel, and sometimes that may be the right way of saying it. But I think the truth of what he was trying to say was, ask knowing it's going to happen, or ask as though you deserve it. Like, let's say you're at a restaurant and you say, may I have another glass of water? You're not really anticipating that they're going to go, no, not really. You're asking knowing that it will happen. And so as Jesus would say, ask believing, and it shall be done unto you. And so the story that we were just talking about, somebody mentioned it in reading the thing. It was this woman comes up to Jesus, and Jesus has got a robe on. He's walking through the crowd, and she comes up and touches his robe. And the hem of his garment, as it's often said, touches the hem of his garment. And he stops because he knows something has happened. And what has happened is that she's acted on her faith, her belief that she could be made well. And when that happened, he turned to her and said, yeah, go, be well, according to your faith. Let it be so. And it would have been so anyway. But he noticed, and so he spoke to her. And so we get that teaching through that. As you hold, you set the conditions, because you're not separate from the universe. You hold the conditions that the universe can begin to work around. And it can begin to hold the same truth as you because you have spoken into it, either by thought or by word or intention or by feel. And let's come back to this feel thing. Words are cool. They can articulate very precise things. But feelings have power. And so when you feel a way, like you belong, like you are love made manifest, like you are part of the whole experience, when you feel that, you are using something that may not be as precise as make me a banana split, but you're setting the conditions to have that echoed back to you by the conditions of the world around you. You are setting those conditions because you're emanating out, and will be reflected back to you. And so as we were sitting today doing this expanded sense of feeling out into the world, the last thing we did was we added love to it. Now, wouldn't you like the universe to love you back and to know it and to feel it on a regular basis? And so it is my belief that if you send out love, it will come back to you. It's not that original, unfortunately, but it is, I think, true. As you give, so you shall receive. As you love, so you shall be loved. Him that withholds, then will lead an isolated life. But the person who goes out and shares of themselves will be connected, will be appreciated, will be known. So as we feel out into the world, as we practice our feelings, and so driving in your car, letting little things irritate, Not good. Driving in your car, sending love in all directions, good. Do good. And it's good. Right? So let's practice now. Let's start by relaxing. And as we relax, let us move into meditation. We do so by letting our breath be the focus for a moment, sinking into the state of single-mindedness. Quieting the mind, we're then ready to go deeper. Now let us feel our body. And feel our breath. Feel the texture of our clothes. Feel the support of the chair. Feel the floor. Feel. And then expand that feeling out beyond. Let's say just a few inches beyond the body. And feel the space around you. Now go further. Begin to spread out your feelings. Go wider and wider, higher and lower. And imagine you are connecting with all that is. And now on that beam of awareness, send out the signal of love. And in that space, know you are now in a sea of love, and that it is echoing back to you. And so we let it be, and so we practice, and so it is. Amen.